Iowa State football is good, but it's not quite elite. And this season is going to be pivotal to the program. I'm going to tell you why today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you for being here every single day, making this your first watch or listen of the day. I appreciate it more than you know. Wherever you are watching or listening, be sure to subscribe so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone state. Today, we're going to go two-thirds football and go with some basketball transfer portal at the end. First things first, we got to talk about why this season is so important to Iowa State football. Then I want to take a look, at least at this point in kind of this whole year that we're in, what position groups have a chance to really break out for the Cyclones this year. Yes, I know it's early. We'll probably revisit it. But at this point, where is my mind at? And honestly, how do you feel about it? Like I said, obviously, those transfer portal targets at the end. I can't wait to dive into all of it. And honestly, probably more. My mind might wander here. So let's go ahead and start with how important this season is. It's beyond important, beyond pivotal. This season is, in many ways, probably the most important season in Iowa State football history. Now, that is a bold statement, and I can already hear the keyboards clicking, and that's great. You know, I want to hear all about why you disagree, but I do think that this season is beyond important. We've talked so much about, obviously, with the success that the basketball team had this season, on top of the success, obviously, the football team had this last year, about how Iowa State is now kind of like climbing the ranks of national relevance. Obviously, making it to the Big 12 title game, not the first time, but certainly very loud this year. Then the Pop-Tart Bowl and just how, obviously, the spectacle really that is that game, and beating Miami in an ACC. Like, this Miami team was supposed to be kind of the team earlier in the year, and then the basketball team getting up to number 2, and it was like, oh, we really got something here. And yes, the wheels kind of fell off that wagon, but for a little bit there, like, Iowa State was legit. Like, it was really cool to see them being conversed about in the same way as some other extremely high level programs. And in, maybe not all of them were national championship conversations, but certainly Final Four and definitely Elite Eight conversations. And so all of that to say, Iowa State gaining national relevance. The basketball side, it feels like it's been there. It does. And I would like to know, actually, maybe I'll release a poll. Is Iowa State a basketball school or a football school? Because that's kind of, I could see both answers, like, genuinely. I am actually not 100% sure on what the answer to that would be. I feel like the basketball team really has kind of been solid for a long time and had definitely their flashes, whereas the football team seems to be coming into their own a little bit here. And that's where I want to talk about this team, this football season that's upcoming. And obviously, I was looking through this spring packet for the Cyclones, and something caught my eye. All-time record for the Cyclones: 577, 681, and 46. That's 100 and, would that be 14? No, 104 more losses than wins. I think that's right. That's, like, to me, yeah, there's always going to be the conversation of Iowa versus Iowa State. And I do think it is a Cyclone state right now, genuinely. And also, you look at, like, the football game last year and how electric that was, and just kind of the last few years, and it's been fun. And but there is kind of still a little bit of an element of, like, Iowa State is gonna Iowa State. They're gonna have trouble in big games. They're gonna make mistakes, and I'm so sick and tired of that, because it does feel like Iowa State is trending in the right direction, but it's going to take a ton to beat the past. And so I was looking at Matt Campbell's kind of tenure at Iowa State. This is on that spring packet. That's where I'm getting this information from. Overall record is where I'm going to start here. 3-9 to start his in 2016 to start his tenure with Iowa State. Obviously, that's tough, but it's your first year at Iowa State, and coming from Toledo, like I could see that there for sure. No bowl game. Then you go 8-5 for 2 years in a row. Definitely, I mean that's pretty good, especially coming off of a 3-win season. You make the Liberty Bowl and the Alamo Bowl. In the conference, you make a step up. It's going from 5-4 to 6-3. That's great. And then in 2019, you take a step back, just kind of in both categories, down to 7 wins overall and 5 wins in the conference. Then you see 2020, obviously, up to 9-3. And then that's where this is the part I'm kind of looking at here. You see a 2-year regression in 2021 and 22, down to 7 wins and then 4 wins, and going 1-8 in the conference in 2022 after just 2 years prior having been 8-1 in 2020. Then, of course, 2023, things get kind of turned around a little bit, 7-6 overall. And last season, 11-3, first double-digit win season for the Cyclones, first 10-win, first 11-win season in 133 years. You're 7-2 in the conference. You slipped up a few games in the middle, but it's fine. You make it to the conference championship game. You do fall short there, but you win the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And so I say all of that really to kind of show that Iowa State has generally been very good under Matt Campbell, the winningest coach in Iowa State history. But also still kind of sitting between 4 and 8 wins for the most part. I mean, 4 kind of now it's kind of an outlier, but it's not really because 3 is kind of the outlier. But generally 7, 8, or 9 wins is what we'll say here. And that's not, I think, for a lot of programs, a successful season. I think that the top levels right now, there are going to be schools that are going to be very, very happy with an 8-win season. And it kind of seems like Iowa is that way at times, not a direct shot, but just my connections to Iowa. It feels like they're okay with an 8 or a 9-win season. So that's not to say that this is not great, but the 11-win season and all the momentum it had, and on top of that, the conference championship and the narrative around Iowa State, this season is beyond huge for momentum, for national kind of the way they think about Iowa State, right? Like the I don't want to say stigma, but like just the overall thought process towards the Cyclones. This season is going to be enormous. You're going to have will they fall off the wagon? Was that a one season kind of deal? Or will they continue success? I don't have the answer to that right now, obviously. But you're looking at being the first game of the season, being in Ireland, just how big that game is. Everyone remembers FSU Georgia Tech last year and FSU coming off the season that they had. And it was just like this monumental game and right in the spotlight. And I mean, that's like, look at what FSU did last year. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Iowa State. It's totally different situation. But I will say, like, you have an opportunity. You've got the whole nation. Snag it. You go 1-0, and then you can work your way from there. Does Iowa State need to be an 11-win team this season to be successful? I don't think so. I would hope they can get there, but I don't think they need I think they need 10 wins. I think you need 10. I don't think you need 11. I do think you need 10, though, to really cement, like, look, we're here now. This is the deal. And I'm going to talk about some position groups and, like, all of that coming up. But, like, you can't slip down to 8 wins. Maybe even 9 is, like, dicey. But if you go down to 7 wins after this last season, no one will take the Cyclones seriously moving forward, because it'll always be flash in the pants. It always will. The 9-win season, that's the outlier from the 8s. You still see a 2-year regression. We need to, like, to me, this season is beyond imperative to, and I guess, does it really matter what people think of us? Yes and no. I would say in the grand scheme of things, I always answer that as no. But when you look at, like, a committee that's picking, does Iowa State belong in the playoff? And then you're looking at players deciding if they want to play for Iowa State. Like all of what they feel towards Iowa State matters. And what people feel towards Iowa State is kind of a direct result of the national media. And so this season, like legitimately, I do think is actually like 12 out of 10 important just for the next 10 years of how Iowa State is viewed. If Iowa State goes out after last year having 11-3 record, all of the hubbub of like, okay, now Iowa State is finally one of the programs that has gotten double-digit wins, and then they come out and they win 3 games, like that's that I don't even know what to say to that. That I think it speaks for itself. And so I do think that 10 wins, in my opinion, is the mark. And I think you have to be contending for a Big 12 championship 100%, in my opinion. That's just what I think. Now, granted, you might disagree. I can't wait to see your comments down below. But nonetheless, for Iowa State to contend for that Big 12 title, that Big 12 championship, they're going to need some position groups, to absolutely pop off. And we're going to talk about that and who it might be coming up right after this. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. So we've talked about how important this upcoming season is for Iowa State football, and I stand by that. I actually kind of had the thought, I was like, how important is it? And I'm like diving through the stats, and all of a sudden here at Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, I am leading off the show with like, this is actually imperative. This is an unbelievably huge deal for the Cyclones to kind of beat that narrative of this team will always struggle. They will always have that over their heads. And that's something that it's going to take a long time to kind of beat those allegations, if you will, to throw kind of a term or like a saying out there. But my point is, like, this season, it's a step in the right direction. It's a possible step for Iowa State to make. And how are they going to get it done? There's a couple position groups, I think, that are going to see big leaps. So I'm going to throw a couple at you. Then I got a couple honorable mentions just because I didn't think that they were quite on that same level. And the first one is, the first two are kind of like, yep, for sure. Tight end and linebacker, obviously. I really do think that Cooper Alexander has potential at the tight end position this year to absolutely tear things up. I mean, obviously coming off of an injury, that's something you got to consider, but 6'4", 250, one of the bigger guys in that tight end room, not obviously the biggest, but certainly up there, especially with weight, height, definitely a little behind like Brahmer and Burkle is 6'6", Bjorn is 6'7". Definitely some tall dudes in there. But nonetheless, I think that this guy can absolutely make some noise. We've heard just so many people say such great things about him. And also, I do think the tight end room as a whole is going to see steps in the right direction just because of the nature of Iowa State offense at this current moment in time. I think when you look at what they're losing at the wide receiver position, which we've noted about 13 billion times by now, because I'm hoping they both go in the first round. I think at least Higgins definitely very well could. And I honestly wonder, I think Noel's first round talent. Okay. Now, coming from me, I don't know really how much that's worth, but nonetheless, you're losing a lot at that wide receiver position. And so you wonder who's going to fill in. You've got the 2 transfers and you've got, a couple other names that did see some playing time last year, but are they really up to that standard? And so I think that we will see some more integration from the tight ends this year. I actually, I'm very excited about it. Obviously, Burkle really, I mean, just lit things up last year at the end of the year. That was super cool to see. And so I wonder if we'll start to see some more of that. And before I get into the defensive side of things, I'd like to point out really quickly, I do think that the offense will see a bigger jump this year than the defense. I think the offense will be significantly better this year than the defense. Obviously, Mauser is potentially proving to be like a real problem, like just legitimately like actually a real thing where it's like, okay, he could be the guy. Last year, the Cyclones, here it is. Yeah, under the direction of Taylor Mauser, produced 10 scoring drives in less than a minute. And when you look at all of the last minute game winning drives, I guess is how you want to look at it for the Cyclones last year. I was a big fan of those kinds of moments. Now, there were obviously some points in the season where the offense looked like it had some kinks to work through. And I think we've kind of done that in the offseason. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I am actually very high on Taylor Mauser and really the passing game as a whole with Noah Pauley coming back for his third year. I think those tight ends get integrated, and that is a big step in the right direction offensively. Now, obviously, I mentioned the linebackers. I do think that we will also see a big step from the linebackers. Yes, the tight end room relatively injured or whatever, I guess, however you want to say it. But I think that obviously the linebacker room is the one that everyone talks about. Because of the injuries, this is per that Iowa State spring packet. 5 returning linebackers had more than 200 defensive snaps in 2024. Caleb Bacon, obviously the biggest name I think that everyone is kind of talking about, missing 13 games. His return. You got Carson Willick at 14, missed games last year. Klosterman with 10. Will McLaughlin missed 9. Caleb Brazina missed 6, and Zachary Lovett missed 4. That was a beat up group, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I really think that this team like got better without bringing in a ton of guys, just because you're getting so many guys back from injury. And I think that linebacker room is going to significantly help with run defense in general, but also in multiple facets. Obviously, linebackers are great. They really are. And so we don't need to dive into too much on how they're going to make an impact because, well, they're linebackers and that's kind of their thing. I think that they can get it done this year. The other positions that I kind of didn't feel as strong about, because obviously, like with a lot of injuries, you would think that they're going to kind of make some noise. I do think the quarterback position, obviously, in Rocco, if he stays healthy, you're going to see a step in the right direction this year. I think that there's just minor things that he's working through, and you get like with more playing time and more obviously now off season, like reps, more film study, you just get better. And I do think that we will see Rocco take a step in the right direction. To say the wide receiver room would take a step up is certainly, I mean, that's a bold statement. It really is. Somewhere on here, I saw that they had like percentage of offense returning. Here it is. Obviously, like 100% passing yards, 100% passing touchdowns, because those were pretty much all Rocco, to my knowledge. Rushing, it's like 80 to 90%. Receptions, you're looking at 34% of receptions returning and 30% of receiving yards returning, and only 24% of receiving touchdowns returning. So like those are big shoes to fill. Really, like it wasn't only those two, but like it's like 70% of your offense. Pretty big deal. But I really do think that Chase Soul and Xavier Townsend can make some legit actual plays, some real actual legit noise. I do think Eli Green, Isaiah Alston, guys to look out for. And then there will be young guys as well that just they're going to make plays. Isaiah Alston at 6'4" with Chase Soul there. Dominic Overby, a redshirt freshman at 6'5", potentially a name to look out for, 195. I just some guy that I circled at 6'5", without having had a chance to actually see them play yet myself. Those numbers jump off the table to me. And then I also wonder about the running back room. Obviously, now under a first year um, running back coach. I'm pulling it up right here because I don't want to get his name wrong. Running back Jake Landry, from North Dakota. First year here. I would love to see what happens with those guys. Obviously, saw some really solid production last year from the running back group. I do think that this is a serious, legitimate group. Obviously, Carson Hansen kind of took over as that guy last year. 13 touchdowns, 752 yards, long of 57. Abu Sama with 2 touchdowns, the long of 77. And then Rocco Becht, he comes in third, which is awesome. So I wonder how that plays out, but I do think that with the new running backs coach, Mauser with another year at OC, I think we can see some really solid things from that running back group. Now, that's not to say I picked those groups. That's not to say offensive line, defensive line aren't going to stand out and whatnot. I do think that the offense will make more noise than the defense. I haven't really seen or heard enough yet from the offensive line. I just want to make that point about the wide receivers, and then defensive back and defensive line. It just feels like there's more question marks there. So not to say they won't be good, but out of all the groups, you have to pick some, or if you just pick them all, then it's that doesn't really work. So nonetheless, that's football for today. We're going to talk about some basketball portal news coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere. All right. I'm watching you. Don't go anywhere. Football is kind of on everybody's minds a little bit since it's kind of the next big sport coming up for the Cyclones. But here at Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, my mind is still kind of back on basketball season, believe it or not. And one big name that everyone was talking about, everyone was really just typing away on the internet about, Joshua Jefferson. Was he coming back? Was he headed out? There was noise about a big NIL deal. Was it an SEC school? He hadn't hit the transfer portal, but we also hadn't seen anything that he was officially coming back. Guess what? Drops one of the greatest. Dark Knight, just edit, boom, bam, pow. I'm back, Cyclone Nation. So huge shout out, round of applause for Joshua Jefferson. If he sees this, you're the man. You really are. We've talked, or I guess it's me, but I've spoken very highly of you all season, and your play is very, it's fun to watch. And so for the listeners out there, now I'm speaking to you, not so much to Joshua. There is a lot of upside to his game, and I did mention the other day, kind of as it felt like almost like a self brace. If he were to leave, that turnover thing was a legitimate deal, and I don't necessarily take that back. I don't feel like I said that just because it was like, oh, he might be leaving, and then now it's like, okay, well, now that he's here, I got to take that back. I do still think that the turnover thing was something that Joshua can, or I guess Mr. Jefferson maybe, can get better at over the offseason going into next year. And I wonder if that's something that offensive scheme wise we can address as well. I do think that that's a place where Iowa State could get a lot better, not only Joshua Jefferson turnovers, but just turnovers in general. And so I'm worked up. Just the fact that Joshua Jefferson is coming back is very exciting for this team. When you look at the team as it sits right now, you needed Jefferson to come back. I heard some discourse about if Jefferson doesn't come back, where is Iowa State? Are they middle bottom of the Big 12? Are they a bubble team? I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't need to think about it, thankfully, because Jefferson released this awesome edit, which I did retweet on my Twitter, which you can find in the bottom left corner at Nick_Marv. This is awesome. It just is. And you got Momchilovic coming back and Taman Lipsey, who also, let's just throw out there, made the one, what is it? Gosh, I'm blanking now. The magic moment. Golly. I retweeted that. It's pinned on my profile. One of my favorite videos I've ever seen. And that's not what we're here to talk about, but Taman Lipsey made it. I think it's one shining moment, I think is what it is. Gosh, I sound so not prepared, but it's like that video totally amazing. It really was. Man, that was cool. And Damon Lipsy was in it. So I just shout out to him. I just totally lost my train of thought thinking of him being in that video. But you do lose Keyshawn, you lose Curtis. But you get a lot of guys back. Nate Heisey, a guy that could actually make some noise next year. And so it's one of those things where I think Jefferson was a key piece that needed to come back for this team. I don't know if you could find anyone like him in the portal, and you're probably not going to get that level of production from a freshman, more than likely. And so I think that this was, however it got done, I don't even really care at this point. It got done. Jefferson's a Cyclone. We can all rest easy and look forward to what this team can do next year. I think with Jefferson on the squad now, you're looking at a legitimate, for sure, top quarter of the Big 12. But then you look, if the ball bounces their way a couple times, they stay healthy. Players are playing to their standard or better, or freshmen are outperforming or whatever. This could be a Big 12 regular season champion type team. And Jefferson obviously definitely a big piece of that. I don't know if I would say so much that he is the centerpiece, though he is in the center of the offense. We'll have to see how that offensive scheme looks moving forward. So I'm not entirely sure right now, obviously, what he'll do, but we saw so much from him this season with just his passing ability, his vision, his scoring ability. It was really solid. It really was. Even made a few threes as well, which was really exciting. So Joshua Jefferson making it back. If you haven't seen his highlight tape that he put out, his little edit, that was awesome. Like I said, I did repost it on Twitter. Otherwise, you can find it on his pages as well, Twitter and Instagram. Really cool. Love the way that whole thing went down. Let's pivot to the women's basketball game, where Kelsey Jones has entered the transfer portal. Certainly one, I can't lie to you, I didn't see this coming. Obviously, Kelsey Jones kind of came into her own later in the season, kind of started to find her position in the offense. And I honestly thought like this one was one that we'd get for a while. Overall, yeah, one piece of it is going to be her sisters, right? She obviously isn't the first Jones to come to Iowa State. I'm trying to find it right here. This is not the article that I was supposed to pull up. My apologies. Nonetheless, her sister, I believe, was just passed by Audie Crooks for fastest to 1,000 points this season. And so I thought it was interesting that she ended up transferring away. But nonetheless, I think Iowa State will be okay. Lily Hansford, the other guard that is transferring out. So we'll see how Iowa State responds. But I wonder if part of that is a response to Jada Williams coming in. I did speak very highly of Jada Williams. I really legitimately think she can turn this program into something very, very special. She said it'll be a national title. That is something I will have to, we'll see. But like the way she plays, it's unbelievable. Very, very tough, very physical, very fast. And so I wonder if her coming in to the program and her kind of, it feels like just levels, there's levels to it. And she's like on one of those levels, and it kind of feels like some other people are on different levels. I'll leave it at that. Like maybe that impacted whether or not players were staying or going. And I do think, you know, you got to do what you got to do. What's best for you. It's kind of what I was saying. Oh, that's a nice little rhyme. It's kind of what I was saying about Jefferson. Like, look, man, that's so much money. Like, do it. Just, I understand 1,000%. And if Kelsey Jones realizes like, hey, I'm not really wanting to ride the bench for the rest of my career, or however she's looking at it, like that's a personal decision. And that's not something that I would ever hold against anybody. Like you got to do what you got to do. And so I am very excited about this team moving forward. We'll miss Kelsey Jones for sure. Really came into her own this season and kind of stepped up at sometimes for sure. Now it was kind of the Audie and Addie show at times, and Emily Ryan definitely made some noise. We all know this. Okay. We've talked about this. But Kelsey really kind of surprised me. I didn't think early on in the season she'd be the piece that she was. And Now Iowa State's going to have to see how they will fill that hole next year. That is certainly it's going to be one to fill. That's really how I would put it. If you're watched till this point, you haven't subscribed, I mean, we need you. We're proving it's a Cyclone state here. Can we do this whole thing? I appreciate every single one of you guys. And until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.